Hi guys, Catriona here from Slange, and tonight we are going to be discussing the regions. Like every Wednesday night we're going to be doing a region of Scotland for tourism. So I'm just going to hold on a few seconds while we wait for a few folk to join. And then once we've got a couple of folks in, we'll get the ball rolling. So I see we've got a few people tuning in on Instagram now, some other whiskey folks, Slanjava, and on Facebook as well. Hi guys that are just joining. Hi Liz. So we're going to be discussing Skye tonight, the island of Skye. It's kind of as a tourism destination, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you have any questions as we go along, just shout out, put a wee comment in, ask me a specific question, whether that could be about whiskey, it could be about history, it could be about locations, it could be about anything like that. So please feel free to take part. That's what this is all about, a live Love from Scotland chat. And hopefully you enjoy it. One moment, I'm just going to actually switch off my speaker. Right guys, I'm actually going to just lift you slightly like that, yay, just so you can see a bit better. Okay, so off we go. I've just seen we've got some folks joining in. I always have my laptop in front of me, guys, because it's easier for me to see. So we've got Bonnie in. Hi Bonnie. And we've got Cova Whisky Society, Slanjava. The Scottish Tourist Guide is also on. Hi Laura. We've got Laura joined in as well. Joe McDonald from Virginia. So gives a wee shout. Hi Krista, lovely to have you on. So we're just going to wait another few moments just to see who's coming, and if you want to come to the island of Skye with me tonight. You can see I've got my fireplace set up already, so we're all good to go. We've got Caroline. Hi Caroline. Okay, so for the guys on Facebook, if you're enjoying it, please like it and share it, because we want to get as much love across Scotland as possible. I know it looks like I've got an actual fire behind me, but it's not. It's just on my TV. It just makes things a bit easier for me. So another wee thing, I'd like to thank everybody before we start who shared our page on Facebook. Thank you. We've hit the 9,000 mark. So I'm in a wee celebratory mood, and so I dressed up a little better than yesterday. So let's see. So we've got some extra folk there on Insta. Okay. So we're going to start with one of my favourite islands, the island of Skye. And Skye is actually our largest island, and it sits off the west coast of Scotland, and it's famously home to the MacLeods, although there are McDonald areas on Skye as well. It's famous more so recently for Outlander because of the Skye Boat Song. The Skye Boat Song's been there for a long time. I believe it was Robert Louis Stevenson who wrote it, but or wrote the lyrics at least, and it's now been made into the theme tune for Outlander. So that's a big reason for a lot of people wanting to visit. Hi Amanda. enjoy making your dinner. And Liz, yeah, Outlander's a great show. So yeah, so that's really the kind of basics about Skye. We tend to visit it. I mean, Skye is a major beauty spot, a really popular beauty spot more recently. So it's always a good idea to plan ahead if you're looking to visit Skye, because I know we're all in lockdown now and no one's going anywhere, but once things start to come back to normal again, we will start to see the island starting to pick up. Just because a lot of local people, local tourists, so people from the United Kingdom and Scotland tend to go there, as well as your European markets and international markets. Everybody kind of flocks to Skye. I would say from outside of Edinburgh, Skye and Inverness are probably your more popular destinations across the country. So that's really important to plan ahead. So when you go to Skye, a lot of people are looking for the beauty spots. So there is like the Quran, there's the Old Man Store, which, by the way, guys, if there's any kids nearby, make them close their ears, because it basically means the penis. A lot of people don't know about that, about the store, but that's the actual word for it. And if you're, you know, coming from Portree up the road towards Uig, it does look like male genitalia. So just a little bit there. Hi Francesca, lovely to see you here as well. So I hope you like looking at yeah, you can always walk up to the penis as well, but anyway.
How many times you want to say penis tonight?
I like saying, I never get, like, there's like some words which are always off limits when you're on tour. I don't swear. I don't, you know, I might say, she said F this. If I'm explaining something from Outlander, I don't always go into the full profanity. But, you know, when you get a chance to say it, then go for it. That's my opinion anyway. So just seeing what we've got. Hi Patty. Patty's just joined in. And Maggie Smith. You're right, Outlander is so much more than a show. The novels are spectacular. Let me just see. Sharon Baumgarten. My granddaughter's name is Abigail Skye, so it's a beautiful place to be called after. So a lot of people who go to Skye go for hiking and walking and things like that, because there's just so much and it's all so picturesque and beautiful. A lot of people, unfortunately, they want to go and do Skye in a day because maybe time doesn't allow for it. And I'm not going to judge those people in those circumstances. You sometimes only have your one moment to come. But if you get the chance and it is an option, always try and visit Skye for at least stay on the island for at least 2 nights. You will not be disappointed. A lot of the time, I've had a lot of people who've actually come with us to Skye and they've gone, you know, we were here before, but we only went to like Kyleakin or something. So it's really important that if you have the time and you're in Scotland anyway, that you attempt to stay a couple more days. The beauty about Skye is you might be spending a bit more on your accommodation than say you would somewhere else, but so much of the island is scenic. It has a scenic value and the visitor attractions are not that expensive. So you kind of, it's like swings and roundabouts. You win some here, you lose some there, you win some here, you lose some there. So that's the way I would look at it. So the Whiskey Geekdom just wrote, went to Talisker Distillery when we were there. Fantastic. I mean, Talisker is situated in a really gorgeous beauty spot. And if you go to Talisker, just down the road, you've got the Oyster Shack. So if you're into fresh seafood, you just go down the road a little bit and you get to this really amazing little place which sells fresh oysters that you can have for your lunch. So always good to pair a little whiskey with an oyster. So let's just see, we've got Anne Roberts. Hello Anne. Has Jamie or Claire said that word in Outlander? they said Claire said the F word. Yes, she has. She has. And then Jamie said it as well because he didn't know what it really meant. It's season 1. Go back and watch it, Anne. There we go. Donna, hi. Ian, nice little thumbs up there. We've got some other folks joining in. Sandra McFarlane. And the Whiskey Geekdom 8 afterwards there. There's also the there's a nice pub in Carbost. It's Carbost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Carbost, the little pub.
There's the lovely coffee place right across from Talisker.
Yeah, there's a nice coffee place as well across from Talisker. But you've also got Carbost. I had dinner there. Once I drove. I had a private tour with Anne. Anne, if you're watching, hi. It wasn't really a tour. We were there as mates together. And Anne decided, like a right maddie, that she was going to go wild camping one night with some guys that she was hiking with. So they had this really cool idea. They were going to wild camp just off where Talisker is. There's like a wee public toilets. And they camped there overnight. But I was staying in the comfort of the bed and breakfast away up at Kilmaluag, which is just a little bit south of Kilmuir. So I drove all the way to Carbost just for dinner. So that was a good hour's drive just to get there. A lot of people don't realise Skye is so big. I mean, things are literally hours between one another. It's not like a case of, oh, we'll just go here and we'll go there, we'll go there. It literally takes, like the northern route, at least if you're going to see everything, you're going to spend some time. You'll be spending a full day. So yeah, it's always a good idea. And that little Carbost Inn is really amazing. Good company, good food, and in the daytime at least it's a really pretty sight. I've stayed in so many different places in Skye, so if you have any questions about any location, I've stayed in Broadford, I've stayed in Portree, we've stayed just outside of Portree, we've stayed at Kilmaluag, we've stayed over at the wee inn, what's it called? Hold on a wee second, because I always get my knickers in a twist sometimes. So it was the Stein Inn, that's it, the Stein Inn. We stayed at the Stein. So that was a really good place to stay as well. Really rustic, old, really beautiful as well. If you have lots of luggage though, beware, because really narrow stairwells, only a few rooms, but a really lovely bar and a lovely restaurant section as well that we used. So if you have a lot of luggage, try and make it into a smaller bag if you're going to stay there, because it's really awesome. It's really worth it. And the wee old guy who worked, I mean, he's about the same age as the building. I'm only kidding, that's really terrible. But he's lovely. He's but you know, very, very, very very Skye, very Highlands in his attitude. So you'll have an absolute magic time. I've also stayed in Staffin. Oh, all over the joint, all over the joint. So let's just see what we have here. We've got Des, hello. Janet has come in as well. Oh, and Graham asked if they said the P word. I like how you wrote the P word, because I'm using the correct term. Or am I? The male member. Let's use that word instead. I think Claire probably has used the word for the male member. I know they've used more crass terms for it. So that's why we love Outlander, right? Because we can get a bit naughty. Hi Crystal. Crystal's just joined as well. There we go. So Bonnie's also saying that she loves the Quran, or the Quran. I always think that is like a really weird name because it's like it's an anglicization. It's obviously on the Trottenish Peninsula there. I've walked it. It's quite an interesting walk. Towards Uig up there, and it was beautiful. Probably some of the best weather I've ever experienced on Skye was up there, but a little bit hairy. I mean, I had to get some there was some French hikers and I was like, help me. I can't jump that big thing. So I was a little bit pathetic, but no, it was good fun. But if you go up there, the Quran is absolutely gorgeous. But I was just about to say there's no Q in the Gaelic alphabet, so you know the original word. I need to actually ask Agif what the original term is for the Quran. We've got Sharon Bloom. Hi Sharon, lovely to see you all the way there in Colorado. And Crystal, there we go. So Anne's just asking, is January your coldest month?
Aye.
Well,
Why? I think so. Miles.
What it is and what it feels like, that's two different things actually. Like, January is pretty cold. Is it the coldest though? I mean, we've had some really cold weather all the way into February, March even. Remember we had that Beast from the East thing a few years ago. That was mental because in fact that was the only other time we've literally had to cancel 2 weeks worth of tours because we couldn't get anywhere. It was just bizarre. But January is a cold month, so that's all I'd say with that. It's not always necessarily snowy and blizzard-like or anything like that, although it can happen. We tend to have driving rain, ice cold rain that comes from a sideways angle, which hits you right in the face. And I tell you, a wet cold is the worst cold because it gets in everything. So yeah, so that's my answer. But I would say if you don't want to come when it's cold, avoid November through to February-ish. Is probably a good bit of advice. Otherwise, you might be suffering. Let's just see here. Good stuff. So, okay, so the next thing is about Skye, is about the famous beauty spots that everybody talks about, which are the Fairy Glen, Fairy Pools, Neast Point, obviously over at Staffen as well. So they're the main sort of highlights on Skye, and obviously the Old Manor Store we mentioned as well. Now, there is so much beauty on Skye, it's unreal, and there is still, if you are willing to look for it, there are still places which are off the beaten path. So it just depends on what vehicle. So some places the buses can't access at all. You just can't get a bus. I could barely get a car up that road. But it was really worth it. We saw Knock Castle, and I'll tell you the other castle. I've actually got pictures of it in the Instagram feed if you're looking for some cool pictures on Skye. So Dunscaith Castle, that's it. So we went down to Dunscaith Castle, which is a really interesting one because there's no car parking spaces once you go up there. You basically go to where the Torreveg distillery is, and then you come up and you turn left, and then you just keep driving. And then you get to you'll see the castle out on the water, well, on the shore, and you park up, you walk all the way over. It's big boulders everywhere, massive big boulders everywhere. And once you're there, you have to literally walk along a guy from Yorkshire, funny enough, this guy's wall, so onto the beach, and you've still got these massive big boulders. The castle's a ruin. It's completely unsafe to go clambering inside, but certainly there's plenty there, and there's tons of sheep. There's sheep standing on the castle walls, there's sheep standing on the rocky shore, there are sheep just everywhere. So it's you know, worthwhile to bear that in mind when you go for a visit. You will see a lot of sheep. So Skye has really nice auroras. Well, the Aurora Borealis, to be fair, it just all depends on the weather anywhere in Scotland and how far you are from population. We have seen the aurora here in Greenock. It was quite active actually last year down here, and the whole over the River Clyde was all green. But the same thing on Skye. I mean, you just really need a clear night. There's a really good app that Helmet actually has, which is called Aurora Watch, isn't it? Yeah. Aurora Watch. So he was using that for a while, so that we could try and chase them. But you could get anywhere like Orkney, Shetland, Western Isles as well, they get it. So anywhere really in Scotland, as long as you are, you know, it's dark enough and it's clear, and it's just got to be the right conditions. So just bear that in mind if you're looking to come to Scotland. Personally, Scotland, because of the nature of being right next to this Gulf Stream, we do have fairly mild winters in comparison with places like the North America. We don't also get too hot with it, you know, typically speaking. So that also is a problem because it means that we get a lot of weather, and the weather tends to be wind, rain with lots of cloud. So it's really kind of hit and miss whether you get a chance to do it. So if you're really looking for the Northern Lights, and you're in Scotland, you're lucky enough and you want to go to Skye, I wouldn't necessarily come to Scotland to go Northern Lights hunting, unless you're maybe in Shetland or Orkney, but again they're going to suffer the same problem with the weather. So let me just see here. It's lovely to see you too, Anne. Thanks for your kind words. Donna was my driver tour guide. We had fun up in Harris and all over. Lovely. So obviously if you're going to do another island, you can get to the island, well, you can get to a number of islands from Skye. Well, first you can get back to the mainland. You can get up to Harris, which will then take you through to Lewis. You can also do North Uist as well. So you've got all these different islands that you can access from Skye as well. And there's all these different little boat trips. So you can go pretty much anywhere on Skye. I mean, it's an island, so there's so much to do with the sea and its heritage and its history. And there's some little harbours and little havens that you can go, and there's some boat trips from some of them that you can join in, maybe whale watching. Helmet was lucky enough actually, it was either last year or the year before, he was up at Nice Point with a group, which is another beauty spot. And the thing about Nice Point is on a clear day, it is just out of this world. You can sometimes see over to the Uists and to Harris. It is just sea, and the cliffs are just magic. So if you get a chance and it's a good day, because a lot of people say to me, they go, Catriona, can we go there? There's no point in going to Nice Point if the weather is bad, because you won't see anything. You just won't see anything. You would literally have driven an hour and a half to not see anything. Your time would be better spent elsewhere. So I know a lot of people, like, they don't quite get that until you're there. One of my first tours I did to Nice Point, it was actually, the weather was fine. The whole tour, we did quite a lot that day. We did Dunvegan and all those things. Then we went up to Nice Point, and as we started getting higher, we started to notice the cloud was starting to come down. And I thought, nah, I'll be fine. Well, we continued on. We got to Nice Point and we literally couldn't see in front of our nose. We had no idea. I couldn't see, like I couldn't, it's so bizarre how the fog can completely disorientate you, but we were like, I think this down that way. I mean, that's usually where it is, so that was quite funny. And I got my group to stand and take a picture in the fog because that was part of the fun. But we literally did drive an hour and a bit to stand in the fog. So it's only worth it if the weather is good. And we've been lucky a lot of the time. We're lucky. But I know some people are unlucky. And Helmut was exceptionally lucky one day when he went to Nice Point with a group, and they were up climbing up the wee knock there taking pictures, and they saw John Coe. And if anyone who doesn't know who John Coe is an orca who swims. He's a male orca who swims around that area, and he's noticeable because he has a damaged dorsal fin, which they believe was thanks to a great white shark attacking him somewhere. So, or a fight with a great white, we don't quite know, but that's the theory. So you sometimes see John Coe, and recently he's been going further and further away from his pod. Just, I don't know what he's doing. Who knows what he's actually thinking or doing. But he's often now seen alone before he goes back to his pod. So that was a really special moment. And if you go through our Instagram page, you'll see, if you go back, we do have footage of John Coe all those years ago. Donna said, still hesitant of driving on Skye due to much tourist traffic. Well, the thing about Skye as well, if you are visiting on your own, Skye is mainly single track roads. So there's lots of passing places and you just have to follow the rules. It's quite simple, really. Whoever gets to the passing place first waits for the next person. Or whoever's closer as well. So that's always the rule of thumb. And you always go to the side of the road that you should be driving. So I've had quite a number of foreign driving tourists on Skye who've gone to my passing place because they freak out and they just go to that side when that's my side. So that's something as well. So just remember, it's just like driving normally in the UK. You keep to the left. Simple as that. So as soon as someone's coming towards you, go into the left, let them pass and by. And I've had a couple of hilarious incidents in Skye actually. Where this one time I'm coming into a passing place just over a bridge. I can't even remember where it was. It was probably near the ferry pool, somewhere like that. And in fact, no, well, near enough. I was at the Slig, and as I came into the passing place, because I saw traffic coming, and it was a couple of cars. So when you do that, you you know that if they go into a passing place, they've got 2 cars behind them. So you just do what makes sense. Like, I get out the way, let those cars pass so I can go out, rather than me going out one person and then sitting there waiting for each of them to pass me as I wait. I mean, come on, it's not rocket science. But anyway, I came in and this person behind me thought, oh, she must be stopping for pictures. No, I wasn't. Obviously using the passing place, and she went around me and saw the oncoming traffic, swerved out the way into a ditch and got stuck and blocked the road. So it's always worthwhile trying to take your time to get used to the roads before you embark on something like Skye, because Skye can sometimes freak out people from here who are just not used to driving single track roads that often. So it's always good advice. Another hilarious moment for me was this was actually at the ferry pools. This was a good couple of years ago, and before they've got their car park and all that. And I was with one guest, and we walked all the way down, saw the pools, walked back up. It's a good 40 minutes. It's like 20 minutes down to the pools and then 20 minutes back up again. And by this time, every idiot had actually parked in the passing places, which is what you just don't do. Do not park in passing places. They have a purpose, which is to allow traffic to get past one another. Otherwise, it just blocks up. You're not going to get this one past this one. Anyway, while we were down at the ferry pools, there was this German guy and his wife, and he was just like really weirdly chatty. So I was down at the pools, and like he would just like appear out of nowhere, this like kind of old German guy, and he'd be like, oh, you girls, oh, that's so fun, jumping in the water, oh yeah. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. But anyway, so we go back up to the car, and we're gonna pull out. And as I pull out, everything's safe. I do my checks. I'm, you know, a fairly competent tour driver. I come out and I drive, and then this Italian woman behind me decides to come up right behind me because she's obviously wanting to use someone else to help her drive. Anyway, we get so far, and then all of a sudden this German guy comes toward her. He just sat there, and I'm like, right, you need to move. I've got like 3 cars behind me by this point. You need to get out of my way. And he had just passed his passing place, and I had nowhere because all the passing places were parked in. There was only like this one bit that he was like, go in there, go in there. And I was like, it's a blimmin' cliff. I'm going to, well, it's an edge. I'll go right down the hill if I do that, mate. So I told him, I said, no, you're going to have to reverse. Anyway, that was a really hilarious moment, trying to see this wee guy reversing about, well, it wasn't even that far. I mean, it must have been about a quarter of a mile. But he did so with his door open, and I just sat there driving. Sometimes you have to. These are things we should actually do, like a tour guide diaries stories, like funny things that have happened on tour. That's one of them that I will always remember. I've had other things like driving along to Kilmalloig when we were staying there, and because it was this time of year, the wee lambs come right, and their mummies stand right on the side of the road, and this wee lamb jumped right in front of the car, and my guest wasn't actually feeling very well, so I had gone into staffing, and I managed to get a wee takeaway, because they don't usually do takeaway, but I managed to work my charm, and I got some takeaway food, and I drove back to where we were staying to give her dinner, and as I was driving back, this wee lamb just runs right next to the car, and then goes to jump in front, And I luckily put my brakes on and I wound down the window and I had a word with his mother. I was like, you should be watching your child. And the sheep just looks at you. Anyway, they're my moments. So we've got, you know, just keep to your side of the road. It's all you need to know. Sorry. Hello, New York, and hi, Susie. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly say hi to our guys here. Hi, Helen and Skelmerley. So that's just some funny stories that I've had while on Skye, and some not so funny. I mean, I've had the next morning, actually, I saw a wee dead baby lamb lying next to the roadside because somebody had been driving too fast around those corners. So the thing is, it's like you've got two things that are constantly fighting with each other. You've got some of the locals who think they know the roads really well and drive too fast. And then you have people who shouldn't really be on the road if they don't feel confident or competent to drive them. I mean, I've had to literally sit there on one of the roads, every bend, this caravan kept edging to the other side of the road, and I'm flashing him and telling him to get to the right side of the road. So I do find myself having to do that quite a lot, especially on Skye and especially on the islands, just to get them to make sure, especially going round hairpin bends and things on the wrong side of the road. So many accidents happen every single year, and it's usually because of two things. People who are not confident on the road matched with people who think that they can drive whatever speed because they know it, and they don't always, sadly. So that's my little soapbox for the day. Let's quickly see here. So we've got one on Harris went to wrong side of massive cliff with traffic on both sides. A couple of locals had to get out of the way and move her car. Yep, it's happened. Happens a lot. Helmets actually help people with a flat tire as well, busting their roads on the side. Taylor's asked me a really good question. Is Skye less busy in March? Yes, it's less busy in March. However, I'd still say the best time to go to Skye is probably going to be April, May, even May. You can still, if you book early enough, May's still a good time because it's still not the local traffic. You get a lot of local traffic during the school summer holidays, which tend to be from July. But from June, the weather starts getting nice. And then every weekend, people are starting to make their way up to Skye to climb the hills. So I would say probably May is still a good time to go to Skye. Failing that, September, October are good times to go to Skye because you've still got some of the weather, and then you've got the autumn foliage starting to come through, so it's really pretty. So that would be my advice to go to Skye when you've got all the different colours. I mean, if you're there, you've got to take your camera, you've got to take lots of photographs. So that's probably the best advice I have. Ian Wright, yeah, the single track road Glendaruel to Otter Ferry is a bit scary. It sure is. It's not even because it's that narrow, it's more because that road is more, it's just not very well maintained. So there's potholes. In fact, the same could be said if we've had a really cold winter. It obviously the ice breaks up the roads, and Skye is a nightmare. Like 2 years ago, when I was doing a tour on Skye, I literally was praying every second that I wasn't going to get a flat tire, just because there were so many potholes everywhere. Like there was not one section of the road which didn't have a pothole, and they were all sharp. But no, I was fine. I just like to panic. Randall Underwood, are there any drunks driving? Well, I suppose just like anywhere, you will find people who don't follow the rules or the law. they will probably be. I actually, when I went down to Carboss that night, and when I was staying up at Kilmalloig, and I drove up like that, I went up north to Uig and then came down to go south. That whole route, like, it was what we call here boy racers. So there are boy racers everywhere, like, and I'm like, why? Like, there's so many potholes. Like, you just wanting to pay lots of money on flat tires for the sake of 5 seconds. So that was fun. We've got Ellen's day off. Love Skye used to play hockey at Portree High School, visiting from Gairloch High. Ah, you're away in Gairloch, one of my favourite places. Yes, Portree. I mean, Portree is a really, really lovely little town. So if anyone's looking for like a really good base while they're on Skye, I would have to say, if you don't have a car, if you're using either public transport or a tour company or somebody like that, where, for example, you're probably on your own in the evening time, I would suggest staying in Portree, purely because most of your amenities are within walking distance. So you've got a few really great restaurants. You've got some nice pubs as well, including the Isles Inn, which is one of my favourites. You've got nice walks as well, so you can take a nice walk down to the harbour. So there, it's lovely. But again, actually, I haven't mentioned the dreaded word actually here, which is midges. Skye is one of the worst places for midges. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. If you're on Skye, even like the car park, so there's a car park in Portree right next to the visitor information centre, and that's usually where I park when I'm getting anything in the town. And even there, I mean, it's just black midges everywhere. So if you don't have your proper midgie repellent in the summer, you will be suffering badly. Some of the shops actually in Portree sell Avon Skin So Soft, which is probably the best midgie repellent there is. I know that's where I bought some last time I was there, but I also have the smidge stuff everywhere. And actually, Ellen's saying in Gairloch, I bought some stuff in Gairloch and tick removers. A lot of people don't realise, if you're out walking in the Scottish wilderness, it's important to note that we also get ticks. Quite a lot of ticks actually, so it's really important to make sure if you're out in the hills that you wear long socks, you tuck your trousers into your socks if you don't have any gaiters, you make sure you've got closed shoes, and that you check yourselves frequently. You've got these really cool things. I actually got mine in Gairloch, Ellen, last time I was there, this time last year. And it's like a little credit card looking thing, and you can just take any ticks off with that. Thankfully, I'm really careful and I haven't had any, but there you go. I know, I haven't had any ticks that I know of. There you go. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit mental. Went to my brain.
You've got a different tick.
I've got a different type of tick, that's right, Elm's right. One of my cousins used to work at the fish and chips place at the harbour. That's a really good fish and chips place actually. Another really cool place I love going when I'm in Portree is the pizzeria. It's one of my favourites there. Really lovely pizzas, and they did delivery for me as well. Like, I managed to get a few favours. That's when you go there all the time, you know. Anyway, Donnie Monroe's from Runrig is from Skye. I met him at the gig in the Loch Goyle Head last summer. There you go. I didn't know that. Let's just quickly see. What's Helmut saying? Not really.
He was asking.
Oh, Taylor.
Permafrost.
Yeah.
Skye's permafrost.
Yeah, doesn't really, it does frost sometimes on Skye in the winter. I mean, if you go see some wonderful photography of the snow, especially at some sort of elevation, which there is a lot of, it's worthwhile checking. But no, you guys in Canada, it's a totally different ball game to our winter. Our winter is so pathetic compared to yours. Ellen just says, I was at the famous Castle gig all those years ago. There you go. I wish. Do you know, I always play that on in the car. The run rig. Anyway, we're talking about run rig here. I love run rig. And I miss, because I was actually touring. Was it last year or the year before? Their last gig at Stirling.
Oh, I think it was 2 years now.
My years roll in. Usually I'm very busy doing tours, and my years just roll into the next. And they did their gig at Stirling, so I was doing tours to Stirling all the time, and driving past them, setting up and everything. But yeah, anyway, so let's just see. We've got the hello. So yeah, the next point I was going to make about Skye quickly, because we've only got 10 more minutes roughly, is that Skye, some of the beauty spots are only beauty spots because of an Instagram post. And I'll give you an example there is with the fairy pools. The fairy pools are not anything. I mean, there's no real folklore or anything. The same with the Fairy Glen actually. It's a lot of the Fairy Glen came from the Victorian era, Victorian tourism. The Fairy Glen is more recent, and that was quite strange for me when I was up at Kelmuir, and I was up at the Skye Museum of Island Life, and two of the ladies who were working there were conversing in the Gaelic, because apparently Kelmuir is the one place in Scotland where pretty much the whole population of the village are Gaelic speaking. Anyway, they were having this conversation in Gaelic, and they have these like posters behind the till, and I just told them, I said, you just carry on, I just want to listen to you talk, because it was just lovely to hear the Gaelic being spoken like that. Anyway, we got chatting, and I said, oh, there's the fairy pools, or one of my guests said, is that the fairy pools, or something to that effect, and the lady said, yeah, and she was Skye, born and bred her whole life, and she'd never been there, because she's like, it's not something, you know, we even know about. It's just really random. Random fact there for you guys. So if you're looking to go to Skye, the problem with the fairy pools is because of that infamous Instagram post, you've now got so many tourists going to that point all the time. We actually had to take it off of our tour itinerary because it was just so uncomfortable and awful, to the point where we were having to sometimes drop people off, drive down the road, wait some time, come back. If they weren't there, we would have to go back again to come back again and back, and so on and so forth, because it is just so unbearably busy. The other problem with that is the site itself is not that wonderful anymore. So you're having a lot of problems with littering. People even like being really disgusting and using round the back for their bathroom breaks right off the path. It's just vile. And you've also got just trampling down the pools themselves. So if you do get a chance to go and it's really something you want to see, fair enough, but you're probably not going to have the experience that you want, especially because everybody there, you can have about 17 people in each shot. So that's probably my advice, and instead just come with us and we'll take you somewhere cool and somewhere off the beaten track. So there you go. Let me just see. one of my favourite roads on Skye is going down to Elgall, and actually Elgall is just spectacular. The whole road down, you're on the other side of the Coolins, and it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So you've got Highland cattle as well. You've got Highland cattle quite literally on the road half the time. So you're, you know, stuck in a wee traffic jam. But it really is worth it going down to Elgall. And there's a wee ruined church, the Christ Church, on the way down. One of the first Protestant churches on the island from the Reformation time. So you can go and see that. It's really picturesque. There's an old Iron Age dwelling site across from it. So there's so much to see and do, and you can easily walk from there somewhere as well. So that would be my advice. And one of Helmut's favourite things to do on Skye is he checks the tides, and he'll take you down to Staffin, and you go to the Dinosaur Museum at Staffin. And then he'll take you down to the beach at Staffin, and you can go looking for the dinosaur footprints. So that's really, really, really exciting. Actually, a lot of people love doing that, and all of the guys get it. So they time the tides, you get down. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's a bit later. So sometimes you split the day in two, but you go down and see it. It's wonderful. So let me just have a quick peek. Hi Jean-Philippe, bonsoir. Good evening late. Don't worry, it's not a problem. So we've got Kyle, Stuart. So we've actually got some photographers on who might be quite good at explaining when's the best time to go and do Northern Lights and things like that. But there you go. So have we got any other questions on Skye? I've kind of gone on quite a bit tonight. Staying at Portree is good. Kind of summarise. Staying in Portree is good. Try go off the beaten path. Stick outside the main tourist months. If you can't do that, book really early. If you are going to drive yourself, be sure that you have some sort of concept of the driving rules in this country, and of single road etiquette. And yeah, at least stay 2-3 nights is the minimum I would recommend staying while you're on Skye. So that's that. Look at that. Love. Thank you. Share the love. I'm just going to read this. He plays with 2 other musicians not called Run right now, but oh, brilliant. Okay. So, if there's no other questions, guys, I think we might call it a night. So I'd like to again say thank you to all of our new followers. Thank you for following us. We do Scottish tours, both group and private, but we try, our concept and our ethos and philosophy is to kind of avoid the coaches. That's my rule. Let's try and avoid the coaches at all costs. And what that means is that we try to get places where we're not going to be completely surrounded by mass crowds. And we also try to take you to slightly different places as and when we can. Oh, Sharon's just asked me quickly, how big are your group tours? So the biggest group tour we do now is 25. That is for a special tattoo, Edinburgh Military Tattoo Tour. So that's probably the biggest we do. Usually we're about between 8 and 16 people. That's our nice, sweet and happy spot. So when we do like our special tours, we do 16. And that, you know, say for example going to Mull or the Western Isles, etc. We do that so that it's just easier. But the group is also a bit bigger so that it's not so intimate as well. Some people don't like other people they don't know in their business and in their space all the time. Thank you, Susie. Susie just said our tours were amazing with us. Thank you. And yes, we do recommend accommodation when coming on our tours. So if you were doing like a group, let's just quickly go into it before, I think we've got another couple of minutes before we cut out. We do a 4-day Highlands and Skye tour. So with that, we go up to Inverness, we overnight in Inverness. On the way up there, we do like Pitlochry, Queen's View, Dunkeld as well, and we go up towards the Highland Folk Museum, and then we do Culloden and Clava, overnight in Inverness. And we recommend places to stay. Obviously though, it's entirely up to you where that is. As long as you stay somewhere within Inverness, that's good. I can recommend anywhere along the river. It's a pretty good place to base yourself. Then we go to Skye, and on the way to Skye we go via Loch Ness. So we'll make a wee stop at Loch Ness and at Urquhart Castle, and then we make our way and we stop at Eilean Castle just before Skye, and then we still also on that day do Dunvegan, and if the weather's good, Nice Point. It's a longer day, but it's not actually that long. We're fitting in quite a lot because between Inverness and Skye is about 2.5 hours, so it's not actually that far. So we do manage to fit quite a bit in on the day. We tend to overnight in Portree. Again, we'll give you recommendations, and we always try to get you to book in plenty of time. I would say if you're planning to go to Skye and you're planning to come to Scotland, especially in the main season, excuse me, book, I would say, a minimum of 9 months in advance, because that will help you save as much money as possible with both Edinburgh, I would assume you're going to do Edinburgh too, and Skye. Otherwise, I mean, I had one lady and she needed something and it was like £400 a night. That was what was left on Skye. So I would always recommend booking way early. So then we stay for 2 nights there, and we do the various things I've discussed. We go and do the northern route one day, and then maybe sometimes we go and do Torreveg. Coming back down, we go to see the little Christchurch, and then we go down to Armadale, where we catch the ferry to Mallaig back to the mainland. And then for our guests who are interested in doing it, they catch the Jacobite steam train to Fort William. Not everybody has to do that. Not everybody has managed to get tickets. So they tend to stay with us while the others go on the train. And then we make our way down to Fort William, making a stop at Glenfinnan, sometimes the Silver Sands of Morar, all weather dependent really. We always get a fish and chips at Mallaig though. That's an important part when you're in Mallaig. They've got like some of the best fish and chips in Scotland. You catch the train down to Fort William, where we meet you again. When you're on the train, you stop at the Glenfinnan train station. When you're with us, we'll stop at the monument and go up to the viewpoint as well, so you can see the train coming over. It takes an hour drive roughly between Mallaig and Fort William, so we've got a lot. It's much quicker for us to get to Fort William than the train. Hi Aileen, hi Auntie Aileen. Sharon, I just said the ferry pools we are trying to avoid as much as possible, because they are not, they are a new phenomenon. They're not really that, in my opinion. I mean, everything on Skye is special, but they are not one of my top spots anymore. Maybe if you went 5, 6, 7 years ago, but in the last four years or 5 years even, they've become pretty unbearable. For you, more so than for me. A lot of people realise that after the fact. So there we go. I think that's us. So again, thank you. That's the tour. We help you with your accommodation and you go from there. And our Instagram folks are going to leave us now. So bye. Let me just switch that off and then I'll come back to you guys on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. Just quickly, last comment. You're very welcome, Sharon. Any questions at all about Skye? I'll bring it back up because I'm going to do like a wee slideshow moving forward as well, that you can see some of our pictures of Skye, maybe some of our videos. But I might do a Skye watch party next week, so you guys can have a little look at us meandering around and running about the hills as we usually do. So thank you again, everybody. It's been wonderful. Thank you for sharing the page with all your friends. If you haven't, if you could, that would be wonderful. If you could share this video and like it, that would be wonderful as well, just so that we can try and spread the love, like I said before, and hopefully this will not last too much longer. So thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow night. And tomorrow night we're going to do a proper history chat. I was asked to do Mary Queen of Scots, so I think I'm going to do Mary Queen of Scots tomorrow. Friday night we're going to have our ghost story night again, so that's going to be good fun. And Friday night we're going to have a wee bit of a party. I might actually even show you guys how to do some Scottish dancing. So stay tuned for all of that and we'll see you soon. Take care. Much love. Mwah.